Hello, everyone, and welcome to Connections for Life. I'm Ted Pete.
Chad Kubo.
Doesn't have socks on.
Oh, I don't?
What is going? Am I frozen? I can't even.
No, we can see you.
No, you're good. You're good, Joe.
Oh, you were frozen,
see
Chad.
Joe
Like you were like
Surratt.
in suspended animation. Ow, what? Oh, Joe Surratt. Sorry. I just banged my hand so hard on the desk. Edit that out. Oh, it hurt.
Oh, yeah, no problem. This is our typical Monday. How was the weekend, fellas?
Long.
Who's going first?
Mine was short.
Long.
Yeah, yours was long. Mine was short.
Mine was of the perfect size.
Was it too hot or too cold, Joe?
Nah, I'm like Goldilocks, or you guys are. No, it was good, guys. I didn't actually know soccer. This was the first soccerless weekend. We're in between sessions, but we're going to be cranking it back up next week.
I thought they would have gave you your banner for undefeated season over the
a
weekend.
little reprieve. No banner. It was beautiful here. Like that's
His name though, in the wall of
yeah, it's
You're
my internet.
You're not pros, Joe. Keep talking.
I know, but you guys freeze, and then I can't tell what's going on. So why don't we just? My weekend was great. Moving on. It was really warm.
Put a basketball hoop up in my driveway.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the picture.
Yeah, I took advantage of the weather. It's up.
Was that it?
I ran 10 miles.
Put the basketball hoop that took all of it.
I did that. I spread a bunch of stone. That kind of stuff. I got a bunch of stuff.
This is the most uninspiring entrance ever.
I'll give you go. Lindsay and I, Zoe did some like fake homecoming since they don't have homecoming anymore.
Fake homecoming.
So she
just came home. That's all.
No, she went to somebody else's house and they went and like took pictures and she got dressed up. But Lindsay and I actually had to have like a real date night. We went out for drinks and had dinner and hung out and we had a good time. It was fun.
Good.
So
okay.
So what do we got coming up with this episode?
So the
what was that? What was that?
I don't know. Today's not our day. I don't.
This is not good. This is our worst one yet.
So December 1st through the 3rd, Upsco Expo. I wanted to talk about Frank Rampton and Trenton Corporation's presentation a little bit. Atmospheric corrosion solutions with wax tape. Something I hold near and dear to my heart. We've done a ton of work with this in the past 6 to 7 years where we're doing a lot of vaults. Joe's seen that, never really helped, but he watched for a while.
I'm good watching. I'm a good watcher.
We've done a lot of vaults for Dominion up in Cleveland. We've done a ton of air to soil transitions and things like that. So Frank should do a great job with the presentation. And that's the second. That is this December 2nd from 12:30 to 1:30, and you can register at upscoexpo.com.
Okay. I'm going to talk about one that's near and dear to my heart, and that's Melford Borzall with Mike Harmon, which is going to take place on December 3rd from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And it is underground tooling for the horizontal directional drilling market. That's Borzall is so state-of-the-art and so advanced with some of their HDD tooling lines and whatnot that I can't wait for this lesson. It's going to be.
I think it's going to be a lot of education for a lot of people. They have so many different parts and tools. It's crazy.
And the way that they built such a smart system, so to speak, so you can go onto their state-of-the-art website and it'll tell you what you need. All you have to do is put in your rig.
That's neat. All
the stuff. It's awesome. How about you, Joe? What do you got?
A headache. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go with Tammy Bomia from Clock Spring NRI. Tammy's gonna do just basically an overview of their leak repair system. They've got I think it's 10 plus years of a proven system, and she's gonna talk about that. That's on December 2nd at 2 to 3. So if anybody wants to come on and see Tammy, we'd love to have you come on. She's always been really fun to watch and puts on a good presentation. Talk about, you guys said near and dear to your heart. I mean, Tammy lives and breathes what she does, and that shines through in all of her presentations. So hopefully you guys will have the time to come on and check that out. Aside from that, I think everything's just holding course. We're doing pretty well. A lot of good registrants. Yeah. Just keep them coming, guys. We want to get as many in as we can.
Participate in the GoFundMe as well. It's for a great cause. That said, let's get into our guest today. Today we have a retiree joining us because he no longer is the president of UMAC and Gas Breaker, but Mr. Dean McGowan is one of the funnest interviews we've ever had. It's a guy near and dear to my heart, just
He was fantastic.
big boisterous guy like myself. We rib each other a little bit. It was a fun time. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Dean McGowan to Connections for Life. Hello, Dean, and welcome to Connections for Life. Thank you for joining us here.
Nice to be here, gentlemen. Always a privilege and honor to see your faces.
Using that term loosely.
Yeah,
What's
well,
up, Dino?
every time somebody calls me a gentleman, I say thank you. I don't get that at home, so I appreciate it.
That's funny. Well, I mean, obviously, thanks for coming on the show. I know you've probably watched a few episodes and you kind of know how it works here, but we're just going to jump right into it. Dino, why don't you tell us a little bit how you got into the natural gas industry?
Well, that's interesting. My father was with Dresser Industries from the 50s into the 60s, and so he was in the natural gas side of it. And he left Dresser in late '69, I believe, going off my memory here, and formed our company.
We'll be fact checking after this. Just
Yeah, I was actually
fact
Googling
checking
right now.
Fact check me all you want. I don't know. No. So Dad formed a company by the name of Utilities, Materials, and Controls Corporation, which became UMAC. So as a kid, hanging around Dad in the early days of his company, I'd put literature together and booklets, and then in high school, I was part of the RD&D lab. Dad had a lot of products that he was trying to design beyond the excess flow valve, but a lot of products he was designing. So he had a small R&D&D lab with a bunch of engineers that helped him out. So I helped them out during high school. And then I went to school at Temple University for radio, television, film. And
here you are today.
Look at
yeah.
wow. You sent the makeup.
I have used my degree in full force.
It's come full circle for you. Dude.
Yes. So I came home one day from an interview. And a side note on the interview was with Ed and Steve Sable over at NFL Film at the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they wanted I wasn't really a techie in the gas, and a techie in the film thing. I always wanted to be Steven Spielberg, create the canvas, that kind of thing. So that didn't work out. But anyway, I came home, was kind of dejected. And so Dad said, well, there's always a spot for you at UMAC if you want it. And I said, well, what does that entail? He says, well, you take over New England, you run around New England, you commiserate with the customers, you sell the products, and you take them out for lunch and dinner, get to know them, sell them a great product, and join the company.
What year was that, Dean?
1983.
Wow.
It was 82. I just checked.
No, it is 83. That I do know.
I'm amazed, by I assume Joe has another question for you, but it just amazes me to think about it in that time period. And I don't mean to say you're old, but
no, it's okay.
Me.
You can say that.
I was born in 19.
No, it's just that portion of the sales part of what you're talking about, and the thing that immediately goes through my head is trying to do all that with no Waze or GPS.
Nothing.
That's literally the first thing that goes through my head. Oh my God!
You literally, believe it or not, guys, you literally called people on a telephone. Regular rotary phones or push buttons, whatever you want to have. You actually called them up several weeks in advance of when you wanted to go on the sales journey. You'd actually physically talk to them on the phone, and you'd say, hey, listen, would you like to go to lunch? Can I stop in and see you? Just have something new to show you, or follow up on whatever other meeting you had. Crazy. And they would say yes or no. Wow. Funny. And then you pull your itinerary.
I don't mean to date myself, but when I first started not in this industry, but my previous, I would have to do the same thing. I would have a map and, have to go, and you'd get lost 1,000 times before you could figure out where you're going.
Maps. I love maps to this day. I read maps. My daughters will tell you, and my wife, I still love maps. I have them in my car. I even have my GPS, even locally, I have my GPS on around town. I do love maps, but it was fun. I mean, it was really, really fun. And I had a rotation that I created, a week in Upper New England, a week in Middle New England,
awesome.
State New York, a week home, a week over in Jersey, down. I had from North Carolina to Maine and out to the Ohio border. So
wow, that's pretty wild. So
with the
So
exception
in-
of New York City. My brother had New York City, Washington, D.C., and the Midwest. So
He had the
when
good
I-
spots.
in
When I-
those years, you know, 1983, I think. Why don't you tell us a little bit about when you started with UMAC and how you kind of finished out, and just the evolution of, I think, not even maybe UMAC, but the industry in that time. Where have you seen it come to where it is, or where have you seen it from to where it is now? Essentially, I think.
Well, you know, I think I watched Mike Hickey's show, and I think Mike laid out a few things in there when he talked about you know, the safety and the procedures and all the stuff that the industry's doing with training and everything today. And quite frankly, back, not that they didn't train, don't get me wrong, they did, and all this stuff. But back in the day, you were working with you know, regulations that were, you know, a decade old or just getting into it. I mean, I think the 149 code was created in 1969,
Wow.
1970. So the DOT code came around in, you know, in 70s there, I believe.
Wow.
Fact check me on that one. But you know, you're
Yeah,
only
we
talking
will,
about,
don't worry.
you know, 13 years into regulation and that type of thing. And you know, I think the industry was doing a great job. Always has done a good job. You know, we were in the excess flow valve end of it, so we were in the selling the safety product, which you know, wasn't terribly easy in the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s.
No.
But we had a lot of really great satisfied customers who liked the product, who you know, thought it added to their safety systems. And then throughout the years, you know, as safety increased and as training increased and as DIMP came into play and as all the regulations came through in the 90s and the 2000s, I think the industry's changed for the better. And I think it's become was always a safe industry, but it's become a much safer industry, effective delivery systems. And, you know, I think that's the great thing about it. I think today, you know, it's fabulous today that, you know, we're energy independent in this country, which is something that we've always wanted. And natural gas leads the way, and only rightfully so, as a clean burning, efficient product. So,
Awesome.
you know,
Absolutely.
the industry's just come a long way. It's just, it's nice to have been part of that evolution.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, you've touched, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit because you touched on something that I wanted to bring up, was the EFV, the excess flow valve. I know that was something that's near and dear to your heart, something that you helped create, kind of the one that is used today, right? And also patented. Can you just kind of tell us about where that came from and the evolution of the product?
Sure. When my dad started his business, he was actually kind of a visionary in the time. He actually started UMAC, Utilities, Materials, and Controls Corporation, to be a outsourcing, if you will, believe it or not, of utility companies within a 500-mile radius of Philadelphia.
Okay.
And he was going to buy common hardware that they all had. He was going to stock it, and then whoever needed it, he would send it to. He called it his stockless purchasing program. That kind of got pulled away from him just at the very get-go of UMAC. He got pulled away from him, forced him into the rep business. And so he had a lot of product lines. And the excess flow valve he found at a meeting in 1973, I believe in Cincinnati. I believe that's where he was. And at this meeting, he found this company who had called Brian Donkin out of Chesterfield, England, but had a satellite plant in Canada. Okay. And he saw this valve that they called the Donkin flow limiter at this meeting. And he just thought, wow, you know, wouldn't this be great to take this product, which actually went at the regulator. And if the regulator vent popped wide open, in the UK, they always shut everything down. In America, you know, we do relief valves, but in Europe and the UK, they shut things down. So this would shut off that regulator from blowing gas at the house. So he thought that would be a great idea. Let's move that out to the street and create what was known as the Donkin flow limiter. Later became in the 80s, I changed the name to the UMAC excess flow valve, but it was the Donkin flow limiter. Move that out to the street, and then that would protect the service line if somebody were to have third-party damage. So that's kind of how it came about. So Dad called up Donkin and got them to fund a little bit of money, and he's in the garage. You know, he's in our garage at home in the early 70s, trying to hold this plastic parts into a piece of steel
That is awesome.
In the garage. I'm playing basketball and plastic parts are flying out of the garage because he's pressurizing the steel vessels and they're letting go, trying to get the right crimp on the steel. And so anyway, it was just
That's fantastic.
a fun thing. So he finally got it all taken care of, said and done, and we started marketing in I believe late 74, 75. And a couple companies, 3 in particular, saw my dad's vision in that regard, and they became customers, and they were our first 3 customers. And I'm sure I'm allowed to say who they are, but it was Bay State Gas in New England, East Ohio Gas in Cleveland, and UGI in Reading, and then shortly thereafter, Colonial Gas in Lowell and Cape Cod came on. But the company who really started exit flow valves, and I want to say that, was about the mid 60s, 1965, was Mueller Company. Huh. Mueller actually had the original EFV. It was a ball and magnet style. It was called a 150 gas fuse, I believe that's what they called it. And that was the original design that came into the industry. Ours took another step further and was a spring and plunger design. So that's really how and then through the 80s and 90s, it kind of, we were just out there selling them. It was an interesting ride. The industry really didn't want them at first. So it was an interesting sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's the utility industry is about 3 to 5 years to get anything in normal. It's hard to think about. It's hard to think about changing an entire way of thinking, and that's what you did over. You literally changed the industry and changed how almost every company in this country delivers gas to a house. I mean, that's
it's a huge accomplishment.
It was fascinating. A lot of people in the industry look at us as the guys responsible for this. And you know what? That's all well and good. We defended our product. We defended our merits of our product. In 1993, which was a great year for us, I actually went to my father. I said, Dad, a lot of people say things about EFVs that we didn't believe were true. And maybe they had false conceptions of what they really did.
Sure.
So I said, we got to create a marketing plan. And I said, let's create the Flowmobile tour. And what I wanted to do is AMP Industries had this old AMP Fit bus van that they used to go around that they would demonstrate the AMP products with. I said, let's create a Flowmobile that has our testing rig. We used to test every single valve I'm sure they still do. And create that test rig inside a van, pull it into all over the country. Let's drive it into these gas companies, answer all their questions. And let's take these myths about that the industry believes. Let's at least curb them. Let's show them that's not true. So when I did that,
you do it?
I did that. Yes.
That's awesome.
Matter of fact, let me quickly, because since we're in this, let me quickly show you a picture.
You want to share your screen? Teddy probably has to.
I already got it. I'm on it, man. I can
go. There it is. There's the Flowmobile.
That's awesome.
There's the Flowmobile. So,
and you can also take it to Eagles games on the weekends and just put a different cover on it.
Nobody wants to go to Eagles games right now.
When we did the Flowmobile tour, in '93, we traveled all over the United States. We went to
that's so cool.
As many gas utilities that would see us and have us. We went to. So we did the United States during the thing, and then the fall foliage tour of New England. So I created a rock and roll T-shirt.
That's awesome.
Yeah, rock and roll T-shirt.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It had all the
on
cities.
Tour.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that had all the cities on the back of it.
That is fantastic.
I love that you were so prepared for this, and you had these ready to go.
You're just giving me ideas too.
There it is. All those stops along the way.
Wow.
All those.
That's so cool.
So there it is. And I got to tell you a story really quick because this is kind of interesting. There was a gentleman at Illinois Power. We had stopped at Illinois Power in I think it was Champaign. We stopped at a few of them, and he was actually in the pressure end of the industry. We used to go out to the Midwest Energy Association. Well, it was the Midwest Gas Association, Ames, Iowa. But it became the Midwest Energy Association. So we handed out these T-shirts, and for every year from like 1994 on, until he retired in the mid 2000s or late 2000s, he would wear that shirt to the MEA and the MG and the MGA and the AGA meetings wherever they were if he went to them. And he'd peel off the shirt at my exhibits and he'd say, look, I still got my
That's
phone.
fantastic. Other than the fact that I always tease people,
That's
because
awesome.
It just means your shirt's 17 years old.
Yeah. And it was a double XL back then too.
Ah,
Um,
That's
um,
funny.
I know the double XL pain.
need a triple today, but that's okay.
That's great. No, that's awesome.
But that was
That's
one
a
of the
really,
coolest.
really
That
cool
was one of
story.
our cooler things that we did to really, getting back to the excess flow out to get the message out there and try to just try to take away some of the misconceptions we felt misconceptions of what the industry thought about EFVs.
Really
And you
neat
know
way to
what?
do it.
I got to tell you guys, I think it was highly successful. As the years got into the late 90s and into the 2000s, I think the merit of the use of EFVs in the industry is good. And I think the industry nowadays, I think the industry really accepts them for what they are and realizes they're part of an enhanced safety program that they all have. So that's my
Yeah,
take.
I mean, that's a really cool story. And I love the van. And if
The
you
whole
have
thing
any
is
large tour shirts laying around, sign me up for one.
They're
So,
vintage
if there's
now.
any
I can sell that
stragglers,
thing on eBay.
yeah, if there's any stragglers,
If I can find one, I'll get you one. If I can, I had to
perfect.
pick this one
Awesome.
out. So if I can find one.
They don't argue because I'm the only large. So they don't even say anything.
Call
Sorry,
me
Chad.
fat.
No, I don't know what size you are. I thought you were a medium. Anyways,
Everywhere,
I
Joe.
don't want to digress here, but I think as far as UMAC goes, I know that you guys ended up selling the business. And I guess the question I have for you is kind of what made you come to the point where you thought it was best to move the business in a different direction? And
Well,
then when did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, we in the late 1990s, the government was moving towards advanced notice of rulemaking and a rulemaking on actually mandating the use of VFVs in single-family residential homes that operate at 10 psi and up, and that came out of about a 30-year recommendation period at the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, since the early 70s, 71, 70, somewhere back in there, made a recommendation for rapid shutdown devices. So throughout the next 25, 30 years, the NTSB would always make a recommendation whenever they studied a explosion that they thought may be enhanced by this product. Anyway, they made all these recommendations, and then the industry decided to go ahead and use them in the early 2000s on a voluntary basis. And then, of course, the mandate installation came in 2009. So our growth period, we had a big growth period, from about the mid 2000s. And then, of course, we had the big hit in 2008, which everybody felt. Right. And so that was a little rough. And then we made sort of a comeback 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. And, we just felt, John and I, my brother's 5 years older than I am. That's my brother and my father and I on the wall behind me.
Oh, cool. Nice kilt.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. That's our Bill Marriott shot. I don't know. Whenever you walk into a Marriott hotel, you see Willard with the blueprints over Bill's.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's our Marriott shot right there, Dad. With the,
Fantastic.
It's funny.
So we just kind of when we got to the end of the thing, brother was, we thought, well, might be time to sell it and move it on. Maybe sell it to a larger company that had more revenue, more ability to make new products, more ability to move it into a larger market share, those types of things. And that was kind of the full circle for us. And that's how it kind of came about. So
probably a bittersweet day, huh?
Yeah, it was. It was an interesting day. Yeah, it was, because I miss the industry very, very much. I miss my customers. I miss really selling a product that I absolutely loved to sell, because
it was your life since you were a kid too. That's
since the age of 9, since the age of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all you knew.
Yeah, it is all I knew.
Well,
but I think in the long run, I think what we did with it, and it was time. And I think John and I certainly, my brother John McGowan and I certainly, felt it was good, and we sold it to a very good company. a friend of ours owned the company or owned the subsidiary of the larger company that bought it, or not owned it, ran it. Sorry, and he was very eager to. I had known him for 30 years. He was very eager and very willing to take it on to its next level, and I think that's good. And we wish them best of luck, and I hope they're doing it justice. I'm sure. So.
Wow.
Now he has the Flowmobile, so I'll plead to him if he watches these things, please do something nice with the Flowmobile.
That's great.
That's a good idea.
So as Chad alluded to, you pretty much spent your life in the industry. It was more than just a part of your life. It was your life. Your family was in this.
Great. I mean, the great thing about the natural gas industry, and I will say this, having grown up in it my whole life, and then being part of it as a sales guy, the gas industry is a fraternity. I mean, it's a fraternity of people, and
Yep.
In the old days, and I'm not sure with the new days, but in the old days, a gentleman or a lady would join a gas utility as an engineer. They would move their way up. You call on them when they were little. I say little engineer, not a little engineer, but an apprentice engineer. As they
Junior engineer.
Thank you. That's a salesman. Dad always used to call us PEs, professional engineers, but or excuse me, practical engineers.
Practical
engineers. But then you would grow with them. You would grow through their whole careers with them, and then they would end up,
100%.
vice president or
still
president.
happens. Not as much, I don't think. But
Well, Dean, that's really what this show is about. Is literally those type of connections. Our organization, UPSCO, and it's clearly evident in your history.
Which we were a customer of for years.
Yeah, that you grow together. You know what I mean? The people who were our predecessors in our individual territories or individual area of responsibilities have now elevated their way through to ownership of UPSCO, and people that they worked with in the utilities have elevated through, just like you were describing. But as we get ready to conclude here, I just want to ask someone who's lived their life inside this special niche community that is the natural gas industry. What do you see? Just one fact that you see where the future is headed for the industry.
Well, I mean, to me, the future, I think it looks great personally to me. I mean, I think as I said before, with energy independence in this country and natural gas, at the head of that, and really the independent flavor of natural gas in this country, as long as that isn't stopped, as long as that forward progression isn't stopped by whatever means, then I think the natural gas industry is on a wonderful way to the top. It's always been on the top. It's clean. It's efficient. It's all those wonderful things. It's safe. It's getting safer. The training's getting better. Everything's getting better for the gas industry. So I really see the future of it as being on top. And I just want to thank the industry for the McGowan family. I just want to thank the industry for putting up with us for 45 years, and allowing us to be part of the greatest energy industry in the world, the American gas industry.
You get your bill in like a month.
Yeah, right.
I do have one note. I have one more story if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Because you talk about friends and everything, and we have a great relationship with UPSCO and always had a great relationship with UPSCO in our life. But I did want to tell you that I talked about my father being in the gas industry since the 50s.
Uh-huh.
And he actually hired one of your great salesmen way back in the day, and that was Uncle Jack Watt. My dad actually hired Uncle Jack Watt at Dresser Industries.
Okay.
What a wild, weird.
And so one of your old leaders is there, and it would be remiss for me not to say that one of my greatest mentors is the great Charles Lang IV.
Oh man, again.
There's another bump for you.
So
Chuck.
there's another plug for him.
When you coming on, Chuck?
Get on here. Yes.
When you coming on, Chuck? They want to see you.
Yeah.
All 5 of them.
Yeah, right. It's 4 now.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to an old man.
No, Dino, thank you. Like seriously, it's so fun for us to be able to get to talk to you guys. You know, the kind of for us, the ambassadors to the industry, and the
Pioneer.
people that,
You're a
yeah,
pioneer.
pioneers, and the people that have made our opportunities in the industry be what they are. We couldn't have done any of this without our predecessors, and we just absolutely love the stories and the information that comes out of these conversations. With that being said, I do want to say, I know if you missed getting out in front of customers, if this pandemic or COVID thing ever goes away, you are always welcome with a seat next to me to any gas utility that you ever want to
Hey,
go to.
you know, I can throw an Upsco shirt on and I can go out and do it, man. I know the products. I'm good.
The
And
price
this
is
is
going to be
the
one of
Guild
those.
of Ancient Supplers logo.
I was just
On
gonna
my
say, I
shirt.
thought that was the guild.
I was
Just
the mayor
wanna-
prior to Scotty.
Oh, that's
Kleppen.
right.
Yep. So
Great.
I
Yeah,
wanted to make sure
well,
I
I just
clicked in
want-
there for the guild.
I just want you to know that the offer always stands. You're an absolute gem, and we love talking with you. I would love to sit with you for a couple of drinks and maybe hear some more of the stories, because I know there's a lot more behind just the ones we talked about today.
If your travels ever get you to Malvern, I know you've been here before, but if your travels ever get you to Malvern, Joe, you're more than welcome to sit down with the old guy.
That was sneaky, Dino.
Hey.
That was sneaky. With that being said, we're killing this. It's over
killing
with.
it.
Done.
Until
Done.
next time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Dean.
you,
We
guys.
really
Appreciate
appreciate
Later,
it.
Have a great
Dean.
one.
Thanks.
Have a great
Dean, thank you for joining us on Connections for Life. Great interview. Had a blast. You know, just full of great times there.
He's one of those guys I want to go to lunch with or dinner or just hang out with for about a week.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to it's pretty cool to hear about some of the past, and you know, where conceptually where some of the ideas came from, and how the company progressed. I think, you know, Dean's kind of like as we alluded to, a pioneer in the industry for what he's done, and you know, he's quite a character too. I think you guys probably see that. So
Great.
Dino, thank you so much for coming on the show. Can't wait to get down to outside of Philly and see you. Hopefully soon with the pandemic, maybe going the other way. We'll see.
So, what's next for us? I think it's time for our favorite section portion of the show.
Ooh, gas fact.
Gas back.
Gas fact.
I don't know how I was anointed the guy doing gas max. Like
You're the one that
I
wanted to do the gas fact.
Gas back.
I don't think I was the one who wanted to. I think I just
Yes,
mentioned
sir.
it and I just own it now.
Yes, sir.
That's what happens typically. That's typically how you get things.
All right. So this,
Great idea.
Videos if we do it and we're like, yeah, Chad, you're the editor. Congratulations.
yeah.
Had you press
So,
record.
so,
kind
so
of
this is why I'm not going to make any more suggestions about the show. So just a really kind of a funny one. Natural gas is thought to have been actually first discovered in the Middle East around 6,000 to 2,000 BC. I know that's a big range, so we're not have to write that down. But when lightning hit the ground and it, you know, gas was seeping from the ground and it ignited. So that was the first kind of discovery of natural gas, according to
That's
this
pretty
website
neat.
that I'm looking at right now. Yeah, it is kind of neat, right? I guess, you know, how else would you know back then? Anyways, you know, it's just
That's
it's kind of a
wild.
cool little fact. Yeah, pretty long history.
That is neat.
learning something. every-
Teddy, before we go,
I don't think
just
they
wanna
were
mention one
using
thing about-
EFVs back then, though, Chad. I'm just,
No.
I wanted to mention one more thing about the expo and the fact that if you do register, you could have the chance to win a Series 6 iWatch. I think that's important too.
actually, I was gonna give away my
Yeah,
Series.
yours is a
2.
Series 2.
Mine's a 3.
Oh, sorry.
Mine doesn't even work. I just wear it because it looks cool.
Jonathan charged it in 6 months. So,
Yeah.
no, seriously,
Lost the charger.
let's let our people get going here. If they're still watching, remember to like, click, subscribe, go over to the expo, register
All of it.
that you think is going to be beneficial and educational to you, and check out our GoFundMe. It's for a great cause. So till next week, thank you for joining us here on Connections for Life.
Thank you, guys.
Love you.